You know those Project Blue Book alien interrogation videos going around online? I mean, they've really caused a stir, especially among Catholics.
Yeah, they've definitely gotten a lot of attention, millions of views and all that. It seems like people are really drawn to this kind of mysterious stuff, especially when it touches on the whole question of extraterrestrial life.
It is fascinating stuff. I mean, this grainy footage, this humanoid alien claiming to be from the future, saying some pretty wild things.
And I think for a lot of Catholics, the alien's message is kind of unsettling, brings up some anxieties maybe even.
Yeah, it gets into some pretty heavy stuff like the nature of God, the afterlife, even what it means to be human. You can see why people might be a little freaked out.
Absolutely. And that's really why we're doing this deep dive today. We want to take a closer look at these videos, see if they're authentic, and then, debunk some of the aliens' philosophy from a Catholic perspective.
I think that's important, arm people with knowledge so they can kind of sift through all the noise and see this for what it really is.
Exactly. Discernment is key these days.
Right. When I first saw these videos, honestly, I was like, this has got to be fake. I mean, the whole thing just felt off.
I can understand that. And actually later on, we'll talk about a really obvious clue that pretty much gives it all away.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. But first, let's talk about the whole Project Blue Book connection. Is there any truth to that claim?
None whatsoever. The real Project Blue Book was run by the U.S. Air Force back in the 50s and 60s, and it was focused on investigating UFO sightings, not alien interrogations.
So basically, they're just using the name Project Blue Book to grab attention.
Exactly. It's all about the marketing. Capitalize on that whole government conspiracy thing and people's fascination with the unknown.
So no credible sources, no whistleblowers, no documents to back up the videos?
Nope. Think about real leaks like the Pentagon Papers or Snowden and the NSA. Those came with tons of evidence, documents, testimonies, or just some grainy footage that appeared online out of nowhere.
And speaking of the footage, the quality is pretty rough, right? Almost amateurish.
That's one way to put it. The alien's voice, that deep, raspy growl, it just sounds so unnatural, almost like a bad voice modulation effect. And the lighting, all those shadows, it feels staged more like a movie set than a real interrogation room.
Totally agree. More like a low-budget sci-fi flick than a classified government document.
And some special effects experts have even said that the alien is probably a puppet or CGI. The way it moves, those jerky facial expressions, the glowing eyes, it all screams artificial.
Okay, so we've pretty much established that these videos are a hoax. But what about the message itself? That's what seems to have really caught people's attention, especially Catholics.
Right, and it's a clever tactic. Wrap an old message in a flashy package, throw in some spooky visuals and ominous pronouncements, and you've got a recipe for going viral. But when you really look at it, it's just a bunch of tired old arguments against faith and God.
You'd think if we were actually contacted by advanced aliens, they'd have something a little more profound to say, right?
I know, right? Like, here's the secret to interstellar travel, or here's how to achieve world peace. Not just, God is an illusion?
Exactly. So let's break down this alien's philosophy point by point and see how it holds up against Catholic teaching and just plain logic.
Sounds good to me.
So first up, their take on God. They say God is this impersonal force, kind of like the laws of physics. Very materialistic, right?
Yeah, very reductionist. It's like they're trying to strip away God's personality, his will, his love, and make him into some kind of cosmic algorithm.
But that's not the God that we believe in. The God of love who is involved in our lives, who listens to our prayers, who offers us salvation.
Exactly. And it's not just about faith, it's about logic, too. This impersonal force idea doesn't even explain how the universe got here in the first place. I mean, everything has to have a cause, right? You can't get something from nothing.
It's like saying a painting just magically appeared on a canvas without a painter.
Right. So if the universe exists, it has to have a cause. And that cause, the ultimate cause of everything, must be something outside of the universe itself, something not bound by the laws of physics or time or space. That's what we call God.
The first cause, the prime mover, the unmoved mover.
Exactly. And Catholic philosophers like St. Thomas Aquinas built on those ideas from ancient thinkers like Aristotle. They developed these really profound arguments for the existence of God.
So this impersonal force idea not only goes against what we believe as Catholics, it doesn't even make sense philosophically.
Absolutely. It's a very shallow view of God. It can't explain the complexity and wonder of creation.
Well, it's a lot to think about, isn't it? We've seen that these Project Blue Book alien interrogation videos are most likely a hoax. There's no real evidence, and the quality is just too suspicious.
Yeah, and the aliens' philosophy is pretty flimsy, too.
Yeah.
Just a rehash of old arguments that don't really hold up when you look at them closely.
So far, this alien seems more like a Hollywood screenwriter than some advanced being from the future.
You know, there's one thing that really bugs me about these videos, this whole alien communication thing.
Yeah, it does seem a little off, doesn't it? You'd think a being from the future with all that advanced tech would have a better way of talking to us than just, using their voice.
Right, like wouldn't they have something more sophisticated? Think about all the stories about UFOs, alien abductions. They usually talk about telepathy.
Yeah, like minds connecting directly. No need for words.
Exactly. It just makes sense. If you can travel between stars, you've probably figured out how to communicate without all the limitations of speech.
Makes you wonder why this alien is stuck with a voice that sounds like it came straight out of a horror movie. It's so jarring.
It is. And the mouth doesn't even move, right? It's like they dubbed over a puppet or something.
Maybe they spent their entire budget on the smoke machine and forgot about the lip syncing.
Maybe. And here's another thing. Why would they speak English? I mean, wouldn't a truly advanced being use telepathy to just plant the ideas directly into our minds?
Good point. It's almost insulting, like they think we're too dumb to understand anything else.
And if this is a human from the future, like they claim, wouldn't language have evolved by then? Why are they speaking 20th century English?
Right. So the way they talk, the language they use, it all points to a hoax. But why even bother with oral communication? Couldn't they have faked telepathy with some special effects?
Well, think about it. Animating telepathy would be really hard, especially on a low budget. You'd have to show those mental connections, the transfer of thoughts and emotions. It'd be a nightmare.
But adding a creepy voiceover that's easy peasy, hire a voice actor, throw in some echo and static, boom, instant alien.
Exactly. And don't forget the emotional impact. A deep, raspy voice instantly makes you feel uneasy. It's a classic horror movie trick.
Silent telepathy wouldn't be nearly as scary or as viral.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So from a movie-making perspective, it makes sense to have the alien talk, even if it doesn't make sense for a real alien.
Right. It's all about grabbing attention. And when you look at the whole aesthetic of these videos, the dark room, the flickering screens, the dramatic pauses, it's like a scene straight out of the X-Files.
Exactly. But why go through all this trouble? What's the point of this whole elaborate hoax?
Well, they've definitely got people talking. These videos have started a lot of debates, especially among Catholics. Maybe that was their goal, to get people thinking about faith and spirituality.
That's possible, but we also have to consider the possibility that there's a more sinister motive behind it.
What do you mean?
Well, look at the message itself. It's not just some neutral exploration of ideas. It's a direct attack on basic Christian beliefs. The alien denies the existence of God, the afterlife, free will.
It's like they took all the atheist arguments and put them in the mouth of an alien.
Exactly. And that could be really dangerous, especially in a world where misinformation spreads so fast. We have to be careful not to let this kind of stuff undermine our faith.
You've given us a lot to think about. But before we jump into the motives behind the hoax and the dangers it presents, let's look closer at what the alien says about consciousness and the afterlife. Their ideas are very different from what the church teaches, and honestly, some of their arguments sound pretty convincing.
That's the thing about deception. It often sounds plausible at first. But don't worry, we'll break it down and show you how these claims go against both the Bible and the teachings of the church.
That's reassuring. So what does this alien have to say about the fate of our souls? Because I'm pretty sure it's not heaven and angels. Even though we've pretty much debunked these alien videos, there's still this one question that keeps popping into my head.
Oh, I'm curious. What is it?
What if, and I know this is a big what if, we actually did encounter real aliens, not some puppet, but a real advanced species from another planet?
Yeah.
How would we as Catholics make sense of that?
That's a great question. And it's something that theologians and philosophers have been thinking about for a long time. It really challenges our understanding of God's creation and our place in it.
It does. Would we see these aliens as God's creatures too, part of his plan for the universe? Would we try to share our faith with them? Or would we be scared and see them as a threat?
I think those are all valid questions, and they don't have easy answers. The church has always been open to different cultures, recognizing that God works in different ways throughout history. So maybe extraterrestrial life would have its own unique relationship with God.
It's kind of mind-blowing, isn't it, to think that our way of understanding God might just be one small part of a much bigger picture.
It is. And it makes you wonder if we might actually learn something from these aliens about God's creation, about different ways he might reveal himself, even about ourselves.
That's a beautiful thought. To see them as a chance to learn and grow, not just as something to be afraid of.
I like that, but we also have to be realistic. There could be conflict. What if their values clash with ours? What if they challenge our understanding of God in ways that we find really disturbing?
It's a scary thought. It would definitely test our faith. But I guess that's what faith is about, right? Trusting God even when things are tough and trying to live out our beliefs no matter what.
You got it. We'd have to hold on to what we know to be true through Christ and His church, but we'd also have to be open to dialogue to try and understand. It wouldn't be easy, but it would be a chance to really put our faith into action.
This whole conversation, even though it started with a hoax, has really made me think. It's challenged my own ideas about the universe, about God, and about how my faith fits into a world that's always questioning things.
That's one of the good things that can come out of something like this. It gets people talking about important stuff, like faith, truth, and our place in the grand scheme of things. It reminds us that faith isn't static. It's a living thing that grows and changes as we encounter new ideas and challenges.
These videos have also shown us how important it is to be discerning, especially online. There's so much information out there, so much of it designed to mislead us. We can't just believe everything we see and hear. We have to think critically, question things, and check them against what we know to be true through Christ and His church.
Absolutely. We have the gift of reason, the guidance of the Holy Spirit, and centuries of church teachings to help us navigate this crazy world. Let's not fall for flashy videos or weird philosophies from who knows where. Let's stick with the real deal, Christ Himself as revealed through scripture tradition and the teachings of the church.
That's where we'll find the answers we need, the strength to face our problems, and the hope that guides us through life, both here and in the hereafter.
Well said. So as we wrap up our deep dive, I'd like to leave you with this thought. If we really did meet aliens, how would your faith shape the way you saw them and interacted with them? Something to think about, something that might help us appreciate the beauty and wonder of God's creation even more.